The whisper in the dust. The surface of Moon Zeta-9 was dry, silent, and forgotten. Nothing lived here. No plants, no animals. Just sand, wind, and buried secrets. A small Terran scout ship hovered above the rocky plain. The words T and Pathseeker were painted on its hull, now dusty from the wind. Inside, Officer Marcus Hall stared at a blinking screen. "We found something," he said. The crew gathered around. The signal wasn't loud. It was soft, almost like a whisper, but it was repeating one word. Return. The ship landed near a broken cliff. Sand blew around their boots as Marcus and his team stepped outside. They were explorers and inspectors, sent to scan this dead moon for signs of illegal mining. They expected to find rocks. They found something else. "Over here," shouted Rika, the team's tech specialist. Everyone turned. Half covered in sand was a strange metal door hold, golden and marked with alien symbols. It wasn't Filari. It wasn't Terran. It was older. Marcus stepped forward, brushing sand off. The door's edge. The material felt warm, like it still held energy inside. "This door hasn't been opened in centuries," Rika whispered. Marcus nodded. "Let's fix that." The door opened slowly with a low grinding sound. Inside was a narrow tunnel, leading down into the dark. Their flashlights cut through the dust. Strange carvings lined the walls, lines of figures with collars around their necks, kneeling before tall shadows. The team moved in silence, deeper and deeper, until they reached a wide chamber below. And there, they stopped cold. The room was filled with bones. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Some were alien, small and twisted, but others were human. Not fossils, real bones, still holding the chains that had once bound them. Marcus stepped forward, picking up a broken collar. It was Terran steel, old design, at least 200 years. His hand shook. "We were never told about this," he said quietly. Rika scanned the bones. "These people didn't die from war. They starved. They were kept here." Milo, the young pilot, looked pale. "Are you saying humans were slaves here?" Marcus didn't answer, because just then, the whisper came again. This time, all of them heard it. "Return." The whisper came from the wall. Marcus moved toward it. He wiped away the dust from a stone surface, and a glowing panel appeared underneath. It blinked once, then played a recording. A voice, human, weak and afraid. "If you find this, it means Earth forgot us. They buried the truth, but we remember. Tell them we were slaves here. Tell them we died screaming." The message ended. The room went silent. No one moved. Marcus spoke into his comm, his voice tight. "This is Officer Halle. We've uncovered a mass grave of enslaved humans, possibly from before Earth joined the Galactic Council. Sending footage now." He paused, awaiting orders. The footage was sent. The reply came fast, just text. No voice. "Do not speak of this. Extraction is coming." They looked at each other. "What does that mean?" Rika asked. "Why not speak of it?" Marcus didn't respond. He just stared at the wall, at the carvings, at the bones. Hours passed. The team returned to the ship. No extraction ship arrived. Only silence. And finally, one more message came through. It wasn't from the Council. It was from a private Terran intelligence channel, sealed for over a century. Marcus read it aloud. "If you have found the Vilari, slave vaults, burn everything. Destroy the signal. Earth must not remember." Rika gasped. "They knew?" Milo stepped back. "Why would Earth hide this?" Marcus clenched his fist. "Because if we remembered, we'd never forgive them." He looked up at the stars. "They thought we would never know. They were wrong." Asterisk, the records they erased. The halls of Earth's defense archives were built deep beneath New Geneva. shielded by thick layers of rock and silence. Not many people were allowed here. Even fewer knew what was kept in its locked data vaults. Commander. Lena Thorne stood at the center of one such vault, staring at an old screen. Dust had settled on the floor. No one had entered this chamber in over 70 years. She inserted her special command chip. The vault's heavy steel doors groaned and closed behind her. A robotic voice spoke. Clearance accepted. Accessing Black. Code. Echo Protocol. The screen blinked and thousands of files loaded. Lena didn't blink. Her face was calm, but her heart pounded. The report from Officer Marcus Hawley had been marked Level 0 priority, meaning it was top secret. No news. Agency would see it. No council member would speak of it publicly. But Lena saw the footage, the bones. The chains, the message carved into the walls. We were slaves, and Earth forgot. She had seen many dark things in her career, but nothing like this. And now she had to decide. Let the truth stay buried, or light the match. Inside the files, Lena found something worse. Humanity had not simply discovered space by chance. They were pushed, long ago, when Earth was still divided and weak, an alien empire known as the Velari Dominion found Earth. They did not greet it with peace. They did not offer trade. They came in the shadows. They took people. Thousands. Silently, without leaving a trace. And for over 100 years, humans were sold across the stars. No records were kept on Earth. No governments knew. But deep inside the files, Lena found a confession. The Velari promised peace in return for silence. Earth accepted. The price: forget the stolen lives. Let history begin after the chains. Her hands trembled. She wasn't just reading secrets. She was holding the truth of Earth's betrayal. Outside the vault, her assistant Aaron waited nervously. The doors opened with a soft hiss. Lena walked out slowly, holding a black cube. Aaron stood. Straight. Is it real? She nodded. Yes, Aaron hesitated. And the council? Lena looked him in the eye. They've known all along. Back on Moon Zeta 9, Marcus Hawley and his team were preparing to leave. No official orders had come since the strange message. But something had changed. Ships were arriving, not alien ships. Terran warships. Big ones. Marcus watched from the cliff as 3 destroyers landed silently around the old slave vault. No words. No flags. Just soldiers in black armor. No names on their suits. No emblems on their shoulders. Who are they? Milo asked. Uneasy. Marcus replied. People sent to make sure the past stays buried. The soldiers went in with thermal charges. They placed them all around the vault. Rika whispered. They're going to burn it. Marcus nodded. Erase it, like it never happened. But before they could leave, Marcus made a choice. He copied everything. The bones, the message, the scans, the symbols. He didn't send it through military channels. He sent it to the public. Relay satellite orbiting Mars. Open broadcast. No encryption. To every station. Every planet, every ship. Lena received the broadcast first. It came as a burst alert. She watched as the images played. The chains, the carvings, the message from the dead. Then she saw Marcus at the end of the footage. Dirty, tired, eyes burning. His voice shook. They hid the truth, but we found it. And now we decide what kind of people we are. Not the kind who forget. Not anymore. Within hours, the footage spread everywhere. Across Earth. Across colonies, across the stars. Some people wept. Some raged. But one thing was clear. Humanity now remembered. And so did the Velari. On Velari Prime, inside the glowing gold palace of the High Circle, alarms blared. The broadcast played in every hall. Velari nobles hissed and shouted. This is false. A trick. But even they looked afraid. The people across Velari systems were watching the truth for the first time. Some remembered. Rumors. Some remembered ancestors who once spoke of humans in chains. And now the lie was broken. Back on Earth, the council met in emergency session. Got one general slammed his fist on the table. We had peace. We can't throw it away now. Lena stood, calm, unshaken. We didn't have peace, she said. We had silence. Another member growled. So what do you want? War? She replied, loud and clear. I want justice. The flames of proof. The fire didn't begin with missiles. It started with truth. The footage from Moon Zeta 9 had spread faster than Earth's diplomats could stop it. Across thousands of star systems, the message echoed. We were slaves. And Earth forgot. News networks tried to block it. Council officials called it old, unverified data. But the truth was already out. The galaxy had seen the chains. The galaxy had heard the voice in the dark. And now, eyes across space turned toward the ones who stayed silent for too long, the Velari Dominion. On Velari Prime, a golden broadcast chamber filled with shouting. The high speaker of the Dominion, Saurus Var, slammed his hand on the control panel. This is a Terran lie. They seek war. Others looked nervous. This isn't all Terran technology, one advisor said quietly. Some of those devices in the moon vault, those were ours. Very old designs, Saurus hissed. Then they forged them. But no one agreed, because the silence said what no one dared to speak aloud. The recordings were real. On Earth, Commander Lena Thorne stood before the Terran Military Council. Behind her, a wall screen showed the ancient slave vault, the bodies, the collar with human DNA still fused to its edge. No music, no speech. Just still images. One of the generals shook his head. This will start a galactic fire. Lena replied, Good. Let them burn. Another voice spoke calm, slow. It was the president of Earth. She asked, Justice or revenge? Lena didn't blink. I seek the kind of truth that ends empires. At Black Forge Station, orbiting Jupiter, a new order was given. Assemble. Fleet HAMMERFALL. It wasn't a normal fleet. It wasn't built for patrols or border defense. Fleet Hammerfall was designed for extinction-level operations, a collection of dreadnoughts, stealth corvettes, orbital disruptors, and heavy class. Carriers that had only one mission, deliver punishment. Without asking for permission. On the lead dreadnought, the TNS Fireborn, Captain Marcus Hawley stepped onto the bridge. No longer a scout. No longer a quiet officer. Now he was something else. Chosen to command the fire. As he stood before his crew. A silent message replayed in his helmet. We were slaves here. Tell them we died screaming. That message had changed everything. Now, Marcus would be the one who answered it. With fire. Meanwhile, across alien worlds, reactions split the stars. Species stood shocked. Others angry. A few governments cut all ties with Velari within hours. But some stayed quiet. One species, the Talari, known for preserving galactic history, sent a message to Earth. If your claim is true, your response must be just, not blind. Earth replied, Justice is fire when lies are this old. In hidden Velari systems, resistance started to form. Not against Earth, but against their own leaders. Young Velari citizens protested. They carried signs with two simple words. Admit it. In the capital, soldiers blocked streets. Reports of arrests, silence, blackouts. But the truth could not be buried again. And the humans? They were coming. Fleet Hammerfall moved fast. 6 carrier groups. 3 dreadnoughts, 30 assault corvettes, and one massive black ship never seen before, on public record codenamed Ashwake. It had no weapons visible, no windows, just a cold hull lined with glowing red lines, and a single purpose: erase entire worlds. If ordered, Marcus stood in the Fireborn strategy room. Before him, a hologram of Velari Prime spun slowly. He touched the capital sector. "Target?" a voice replied. "The palace." "The records, the vaults." He nodded. "No warnings, no messages, no talks." The AI confirmed. Operation Flamefall ready. Just as the fleet crossed into Velari territory, a final message was sent. Not from the Council, not from the diplomats. From Earth's people. It was broadcast in every major language across space. They made us forget. Now we remember. This is not war. This is memory. And memory burns. In response, Velari Command activated every defense satellite. Missiles, plasma shields, defense grids. But it didn't matter. Because when Earth remembered, Earth didn't. Just fight. It unleashed. Asterisk, the chains still echo. The skies above Velari. Prime turned red. Not because of their sun. Because of the fire falling from orbit. From the bridge of the T.N. Fireborn. Captain Marcus Hale watched in silence as fleet Hammerfall moved into attack formation. Missile pods opened. Rail, cannons turned. Laser batteries charged with deep blue glow. But Marcus didn't give the order yet. He waited for one signal. It came from deep within Velari space, from a scouting unit that had landed on the outer colonies. They had discovered something worse than the bones. In the lower cities of Velari. Theta 4. Under a quiet processing plant, Earth's soldiers broke open sealed gates. And behind those gates, in cold steel cells, they found children. Alien. Human. Others. Eyes wide with fear. Wrists bruised from metal cuffs. Barefoot. Thin. Silent. None of them spoke. Not at first. Then one little girl stepped forward. Human. Maybe 6 years old. She pointed to the guard's Earth flag patch. "Are you from the place with oceans?" The soldier nodded, trying not to cry. The girl smiled. "I had dreams about you." The report hit Earth like thunder. The slavers are still active. It wasn't history. It was happening. Now. Lena Thorne read the file on a secure screen. No one else was in the room. She closed her eyes, whispered, so they never stopped. Just went. Underground. She tapped the communicator. Marcus. Execute flame protocol. Everything. Back on the Fireborn, the order came through. Simple. Clear. No survivors among their command, save only those in chains. Marcus gave a single nod. Begin. The stars above Velari Prime filled with light. But it wasn't celebration. It was destruction. Dreadnoughts opened fire. Rail slugs tore through defense towers like glass. Orbital strike teams landed fast, breaking into vaults, prisons, data centers. And wherever humans found a lock, they broke it. Wherever they found a chain, they melted it. And wherever they found Velari leaders, they ended them. Inside a grand temple, built from stolen gold and carved stone, a Velari overseer screamed as Earth soldiers dragged him out. He shouted, "You don't understand. We kept the trade secret. The Council knew." Marcus stared at him coldly. "We're not here for the Council," he said. He raised his plasma pistol. "We're here for them." One shot. No more screams. Elsewhere, in hidden tunnels, more cells. Opened. A teenage boy from Earth hugged his little sister. A lizard-like child from a distant moon whispered, "I thought I'd never see stars again." A robot, half-broken, sat against a wall. Its last data log read, "I was built to serve, but they made me suffer." Marcus knelt and placed a hand on the machine's head. "You're free now," He said. The robot powered down peacefully. News of Earth's action spread again, but this time, the galaxy didn't call it war. They called it judgment. Species that once laughed at humans now went quiet. Some even offered help. Others asked for protection. Earth sent no reply. They didn't need words anymore. Back on Velari Prime, the main broadcast tower fell in flames. A new signal replaced it. Marcus himself peered on every screen. His uniform was bloodstained, his eyes tired, his voice steady. You called us savages once. You said humans were dangerous. You were right, but only when we remember the truth. And now, we remember everything. The signal ended, and the Velari Dominion, once proud, once feared, was no more. After the fighting stopped, Earth's fleet didn't celebrate. They built hospitals. They dug graves. They gathered survivors and gave them food, warmth, and safety. And most of all, they listened. Each person who had been enslaved was asked the same question. What do you need? The answers were never the same, but one answer came again and again. Just don't let them do it again. Marcus stood at the edge of a burned Velari fortress. A group of freed children played near a small fountain, now flowing again. Lena's voice came through his earpiece. Is it over? Marcus looked out at the smoke, the rubble, the rising dawn. He answered, it's just beginning. Cities turned to ash. The capital city of Velari Prime once stood as a symbol of beauty, wealth, and power. Towering golden spires touched the sky. Fountains of light danced in midair. Streets buzzed with sleek hovercrafts and citizens in glowing robes. But now it burned. Captain Marcus Hawley walked through the ruins, boots crunching on broken glass and scorched stone. Around him, Earth's soldiers moved carefully, checking every structure, clearing out resistance, and rescuing survivors from underground holding cells. The Velari had buried their crimes deep, but Earth dug deeper. One building still stood in the center of the city, a high temple of the Dominion. It was made of black stone and gold, shaped like a massive throne. Inside were records, ancient scripts, and hundreds of years of lies carved into the walls. Marcus stepped through the doorway with 6 soldiers. Inside the temple was the last surviving, Velari High Lord Senrith Kai. He stood in a robe of red and silver, unarmed, staring at the flames outside. You have no honor, Senrith said calmly. You bring war to a holy place. Marcus didn't raise his weapon. His voice was quiet. You made this place holy with chains. Senrith turned slowly. We gave your species order. We helped Earth join the stars. Marcus stepped forward. You stole our people. You buried them in moons. Senrith gave a thin smile. And you are just proving we were right to fear you. Marcus's hand tightened on his weapon. I'm not here to prove anything. He raised his communicator and gave the order. Clear the zone. Light it. Outside, drones dropped canisters around the temple. Soft blue gas began to rise. Then came the ignition codes. The ground rumbled. The temple burst into flame from the inside out. The last memory of the Velari's pride crumbled into ash. In orbit, the TNC's Fireborn recorded everything. The footage was streamed in real time to Earth, colonies, and even neutral systems. It showed a symbol painted in fire on the ground. Broken collar. A message appeared beneath it. We remember, you burn. Elsewhere, on smaller Velari worlds, riots broke out. Some civilians rose up against their own rulers, realizing the truth. They had been told for centuries that humans were violent, but now they saw the real monsters had smiled and lied for generations. Statues of Velari lords were pulled down. Records of erased slave transactions were recovered. Entire planets switched allegiance, not to Earth, but to justice. The Galactic Council called for an emergency meeting. They begged Earth to stop the attacks. They promised inquiries, investigations, talks, but Earth didn't respond with diplomats, they responded with silence and warships. Back in New Geneva, Commander Lena Thorne stood before Earth's leaders. A general asked, "Should we stop? The galaxy is watching." Lena replied, "Good." The president leaned forward. "What message are we sending?" Lena didn't hesitate. That chains will never be welcome in this galaxy again. Not while humans remember what they felt like. On the fourth day of the offensive, Ashwake, the silent black ship in Earth's fleet, descended over Velari's second capital. Drenlaws. This city had not fought, it had not resisted, but beneath it were records, vaults, evidence. Ashwake didn't fire a gun, it sent a signal. Everything electronic in the city went dark. Then the city began to float, rising, inch by inch into the sky. No one could explain it, no tech could trace it. The entire city rose, held in the grip of gravity fields, too advanced to understand, and then Ashwake released it. The city crashed back into its own foundation and was gone. No warning, no negotiation, no survivors among Velari leadership. But again, no civilians were targeted intentionally. Earth did not destroy planets. They cleansed power, and the message became clear to the stars. We do not conquer. We do not forget. We do not allow slavers to rule. After 8 days of assault, the Velari Dominion was no more. Their government collapsed. Their fleets disbanded. Their slave networks destroyed. Exposed and torn apart, humanity never sent a single ambassador during the war. Just ships, rescue teams, and fire. On Velari Colony Station 71B, a rescued slave, a blind alien elder named Tosca, was handed a blanket by a young Earth soldier. He reached out, touching the boy's face. "You came," the old one whispered. "We thought no one would ever come." The soldier smiled softly. "We remembered," he said. On the edge of the galaxy, species who had once ignored Earth now sent messages of alliance, of peace, of thanks. Others stayed quiet, too afraid to speak, because now they knew. If you chain a human one day, they will break free. And when they do, they will set fire to the stars that let it happen. The galaxy watches. The Velari Dominion was gone. Its stars were silent. Its golden palaces were ashes. Its name, once feared, now spoken only in shame. But Earth was not celebrating. They were preparing, because the war may have ended. But the judgment was just beginning. In the great council hall of Virelin, where representatives from over 300 species met to keep peace across the galaxy, an emergency summit had begun. All eyes were focused on the center stage, where a wide, circular platform waited for Earth's representative. The hall buzzed with anger and fear. The humans went too far. They destroyed cities. They acted without approval. But not everyone agreed, not others whispered. They freed the forgotten. They brought justice where we turned away. The council moderator, a tall gray-skinned being called Yulrin, Tove, raised a hand. "Order," he said calmly. "Let Earth speak." The crowd fell silent. And then she stepped forward. Commander Lena Thorne. Not a politician, not a diplomat. A soldier. She wore no medals, no armor, just a plain Earth uniform and steady eyes. She stepped onto the center stage, looked around the chamber, and said nothing for a full minute. Then she spoke. "I'm not here to make friends," Lena said, voice steady. "And I'm not here to say sorry." Some gasped. Others leaned forward. She continued. "We discovered graves on the moon, bones in chains. Human bones." A giant holoimage appeared above her photos from Moon, Zeta to 9. Skulls, collars, carvings. The whispered message etched into the stone: "Tell them we died screaming." Murmurs spread. She showed the next image children in cells on the Lari colonies. Some human, some alien, a few in tears, a few hugging Earth soldiers. You call Earth violent, Lena said. You fear our strength. You mock our history. She paused. Then you hide crimes like this. One ambassador from the Jirax coalition stood, but you attacked without permission. You destroyed their cities. Lena nodded slowly. Yes. Another alien shouted, that wasn't justice. It was vengeance. Lena replied, no, it was memory. She tapped a small device. A recording played, the voice of a Valari noble. If we taught the humans fear long ago, we wouldn't have to worry now. She let the words hang in the air. Then she said, you all watched. You all signed treaties. With the Velari. You all sat at this table and talked about peace, while the slavers hid children beneath their feet. No one answered. Not a single being in the chamber dared to look her in the eye. She continued, Earth does not ask your approval. We brought justice to those who were chained. If that offends you, remember this. She turned slowly, making sure they were all listening. We didn't burn cities because we wanted to. We burned them because the galaxy chose silence. And we chose fire. A long silence followed. Then, something no one expected happened. A Talari historian, an ancient being who hadn't spoken in over 40 years, stood. Their voice echoed deep and clear. The humans did what we did not have the courage to do. And then one by one other species began to stand. The Zurans, known for their pacifism. The Heshari, whose own people were once enslaved long ago. The Dranari, a warrior race who had once clashed with Earth and now bowed their heads. Each one stood. In silence, not clapping, not cheering, but simply standing. And in the galaxy's highest hall. That meant one thing: respect. Outside the council, the news exploded. Earth speaks before stars, and the stars listen. Commander Thorne declares end of silence era. Velari crimes proven massive. Support for Terran action. Across hundreds of worlds, statues of slaver leaders were torn down, books rewritten. Apologies sent. And Earth? Earth said nothing, because their answer had already been written in ashes. Back on Mars. In a quiet military outpost, Captain Marcus Hawley received the full transmission of Lena's speech. He played it alone, sitting on a bench, staring at the red sky. Behind him, children who had been rescued from Velari chains played with Terran medics. One of them, a boy no older than 7, walked up to Marcus and asked, Did you come from Earth? Marcus nodded. I did. The boy held out a toy, carved wooden ship. Can you take me there someday? Marcus smiled. Yes, one day soon. And as the sun set over Mars, a single message was broadcast across all Earth channels. ***, we were forgotten once. Never again. The new warning. The war was over. The cities had fallen. The council had gone silent. And for the first time in living memory, the galaxy changed its tone when speaking of Earth. No longer newcomers. No longer emotional. No longer too dangerous. Now they were called something else. The species that remembers. On a quiet asteroid near the edge of the Zerith belt, Earth's engineers raised a monument. It wasn't large. It wasn't made of gold or crystal. It was a ring of old chains melted together. Inside the ring, a flame burned. Eternal. Captain Marcus Heil stood before the flame, wearing no armor, no command stripes. Just black boots, a long coat, and eyes that had seen too much. Beside him stood Commander Lena Thorne, her hands folded behind her back. A crowd had gathered: soldiers, rescued survivors, allies from across species. The air was still. Marcus stepped forward and placed something into the fire. A single broken slave collar. He said nothing, but the message was clear. Never again. After the ceremony, Lena spoke quietly. People are afraid of what we've become. Marcus didn't look at her. He watched the fire. Then they should have feared what they allowed first. Lena nodded. We have new allies now. Even old enemies are changing sides. And the ones who watched and stayed silent? She exhaled. They now understand. Earth doesn't forget. Across the galaxy, Terran ships were now welcome in systems where they were once blocked. Former colonies that feared humans now called for Terran protectors. People who once mocked Earth's compassion now saw it as something else. A power even the strongest fleets didn't have memory. But it didn't end with monuments or titles. Earth sent teams across former Velari space rescue missions, healing centers, war trials. The prisoners freed from dark cells weren't just taken care of, were heard. Their stories were recorded in every language, stored in every major archive. Read in schools across Earth and allied worlds. One line was written above all of them. The moment you forget is the moment it begins again. In the remains of the Galactic Council, a new vote was proposed. No species shall ever again own, traffic, or cage another. Violation of this law would mean immediate action led by Earth. At first, many protested. But no one wanted to challenge the humans. Now, because everyone had seen what happened when Earth found the truth, they didn't argue. They didn't ask. They simply lit the stars on fire, on a far-off, farming planet in the quiet outer rim. A little girl with 3 fingers and bright green eyes sat on her mother's lap. She pointed at the sky as a small Terran ship flew overhead. Are those the humans? She asked. Her mother smiled. Yes. Are they scary? The mother shook her head. Only if you hurt someone. The girl tilted her head. What do they do? Her mother hugged her close. They remember. Even when the rest of us try to forget. Elsewhere, deep underground on an abandoned Velari world, a small machine blinked to life. It was a forgotten archive, once used to hide the slave records. Now, it had a message playing on repeat, left behind by Earth's final task. Force. Asterisk, asterisk, this world has been judged. No chains remain. If you seek to rebuild the past, read this first. And understand, we are still here, and we still remember. Asterisk, asterisk, back on Earth. Inside the United Terran History Hall, a single glass case was installed. Inside it, 1 rusted collar, 1 broken chain, 1 line carved into the metal. Asterisk, asterisk, they buried us in silence. We rose in fire. Asterisk, asterisk, Marcus Halle retired 2 months later. He disappeared to a small outpost on Europa, working with orphans rescued from Velari camps. Some say he never spoke of the war again, but the children say. Sometimes he sat outside, stared at the stars, and whispered, they'll never chain us again. And far across the galaxy, in the dark corners where evil still tried to grow, a new phrase began to appear, scratched into walls, etched into metal, whispered like a warning. Asterisk, asterisk, if you see their flag drop your chains, if you see their fleet run, if they remember you, you're already too late.